Hi, my name is Jim Balla. I'm your tech support guy here at Buyers Products. Today's videos, we're going to talk about how to troubleshoot our tailgate spreaders. The tailgate spreaders we're going to talk about today are going to be our TGS UV Pro A, our TGS 06, our TGS 02, TGS 03, and this one we have right here, our TGS 07. So before we get started, I need you, become part of that SaltDogg family, smash that like button, subscribe. Now let's look at the tools we need to do the job. All right, so the tools we're going to need today to troubleshoot our spreaders. First thing you're going to need is an outside power source. So what we have here is just your standard jump pack. It's a little heavy, so that's why I can't get it high enough. So yeah, there's your jump pack, 12 volts. The next thing you're going to need possibly is just a test light for a basic 12 volt test. I also have some little jumpers with some alligator clips on it, because some of the fittings or connections, it's hard to get something in there, so you want to get like a little the alligator clip to put in there, and then we'll put the power to that to make sure that the motor runs. And finally, our voltmeter, multimeter. We're going to need this to test voltage. The test light's going to show you a light, but we need to know, hey, how much voltage are we getting somewhere? It could be 6 all the way up to 12 or 0. So that's what we're going to look at. So now let's get down to the motor here. We'll pull some wires apart and we'll put some power there and show you how to connect the power to make sure the motor's running or not. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the controller. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it up to like 5 or something. But the thing is, we're not, the spinner in the back is not moving, or the auger. So in that situation, what we're going to do is, since I'm getting power here, and should be sending power to the back, but the motor's not running, so now we guys go check to see if the motor is actually operational. And that's where we're going to use a jump pack, jump it with a 12 volt power source other than the controller, and see if it runs without the controller power. So let's go in the back and check it out. All right, so we're back here at the spreader. Now the two wires here, the red and black, that's your negative and positive for our gear motor that's inside the spreader. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these two apart. Again, red is positive, black is negative. So I'll do the negative one first. So you see the connector. So what I'm going to do is take this, and I'm going to take one of my alligator clips and connect it in here. And then do the same thing with the positive one. All right, then I'm going to take the jump box, connect a positive to it. Then I'm going to connect the negative to it. Make sure you get a good connection here, which I didn't. Try to get it right there. And then I'm just going to turn the jump box on. Again, as you can see, I'd be giving it power that our spinner and our auger motor, our spinner auger motor, is working properly. So what is that telling me is this is the quickest way to check to see if the motor works. So that eliminates that from the equation. So now if the controller is giving power back here and it wasn't working, that means either our harness, there's something wrong with the harness, or our controller isn't feeding it the proper amount of power. So what we're going to do now is go check the controller to see if it's putting out power out of the controller. All right, so before we go up to check out the controller, what I'm going to do is a quick and easy way to check the vibrator too, since we're back here. Again, this is troubleshooting. I'm trying to do a few things at a time here. So since we're back here, a quick and easy way to troubleshoot the vibrator is, here's a controller, or here's a vibrator harness. has a green and white wire. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull it apart. So again, I put the two clips on, and then I'm just going to power the vibrator up. Same way I did with the spinner auger motor. This is going to make a little noise, hopefully, so we know it works. So again, I put negative, positive to the cable that goes through the vibrator. Now I'm just going to turn the jump box on. And it works. And I can't hear either right now. So we're good to go. Again, that's a quick and easy way to test the vibrator just with a jump pack, and now we know it works. Another thing is if you have someone else with you and they could press the vibrator button on the controller, what you could do also is the wire that are coming back, again, it's the green and white wire, you can use your test light or your multimeter and check voltage that's coming back. And we can do that in a second. All right, since we just tested a vibrator, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to test the red and black wire with our voltmeter. And these are the wires that would go to the gear motor. So we're going to see, hey, we're getting power back here. So again, this is another easy test to see we're making sure we're getting power back here and the controller's feeding us what we need back here. So I'm going to put red to red. And then we're going to have our assistant turn the power on the controller and then move the dial to 5. All right, so you can see at full, as you see at full power, we've got 12.5 volts. And then if she turns it down a little bit, the voltage will drop back here. So the controller controls that voltage to make the motor go slower or faster. So now, since we know we got power coming back here, let's go up to the controller and see what's coming out of the controller and go from there. All right, so back in the cab, our favorite place. Also, here's the controller and here's the main harness. So the main harness has a gray connector. Our other connector, it's all black, and that's our power coming from the battery. So we know we have power going in to the controller because we showed you when we turned it on and it worked and stuff. But another, pretty much our second troubleshooting thing is first, we check the motor. Second, are we getting power back to the motor? So a good way to check the harness is it's plugged in here. So what I'm going to do is just unhook the harness that goes back to the spreader. Again, it has your red, black, green, and white. So red and black was our gear motor, and the white and green, that was our vibrator. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put power to these up here just to see if it's working back there. And this is what tests the harness. So it just, again, it drops another situation of why isn't it working? Let me check the harness now. So let's go ahead, kind of same thing we did in back, and I'm just gonna, we'll do the red and black first. So what I'm gonna do is just connect our clips to this. All right, so I got it hooked up, and I'm just gonna put the red to the red for positive, and then go back to my other clip. So they're hooked up there, and then I'm just gonna turn the switch on the jump box. And the spinner in the back should be moving. We know, we know that's running. So now I'm going to change it over. These little clips to the vibrator. See if that works. So now we know that the harness is actually good. So both functions in the back work, through the harness. So the next thing we're going to do, the check. Again, this is a bunch of little tests, but you got to break it down to what you need. if your controller's not lighting up, what you want to do is, like, why isn't it lighting up? So let me take these off this here because it's on thing. So you have your controller. Again, the one thing you always want to try too is there's a fuse on the back of the controller. You want to check this if you're not getting power to the back of the spreader too. So there's a 30 amp fuse in line right outside the controller. So you want to check that. Make sure it's seated properly. So, again, that's on the brown wire that actually goes to the vibrator. So if your vibrator ain't working, you also want to check that fuse. Also, power coming into the controller, again, is the red and black wire. And that harness is going into the engine compartment. And what we could do too, just with the multimeter, we can use the test light too first. We'll do both real quick, just to see if we're getting power. So we're getting power there. So we're getting power. I just got a little shock. But what I'm going to do here is just take the test light and bring it there so I know we're getting power, from the circuit breaker and the battery that's in the engine compartment. So if you don't have a test light and just a voltmeter, I'm going to do the same thing with the voltmeter and just touch both of these. And I'm getting 12.7 volts. So again, there's two ways you could test it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in the engine compartment and just check a few wires up there in case we're not getting power, because we do have a circuit breaker up there and we got to show you how to reset it. So we'll pop the hood, we'll check out the front. All right, so now we're in the engine compartment. So we're going to be looking at power from the battery, and that goes to our circuit breaker that's right here. Again, this is a manual reset circuit breaker. So if you're not getting power to the controller, what you want to do is double check this. So if it's popped, you'll see this little lever right here. So you see this little lever right here just popped. So what you want to do is just take it and you press it back down and you're good to go. So what we're going to do is we're just going to check power to the circuit breaker by using the test light, and then of course I check the test light, make sure it's working properly, and then I'll just check on one side and then check on the other side, and I can tell that the power is actually working for the circuit breaker. So if it gets popped, you see the light goes off, then I reset it. So that's how you check the circuit breaker, so make sure it's working and getting power to the controller. Again, you also go check it with your voltmeter. And then same thing, I'm on ground. I'm going to touch it here. Going into it, got 12.1, then out, 12.1. It should be the same. So, and that's how you check it with the test light, a multimeter. So again, that's probably one of the final tests that we're going to be doing to diagnose, our spreaders that we talked about in the opening comments. So again, first, test the motor and back, because that's what makes everything move. So that's the first thing you want to test. And same thing with the vibrator. You want to test it back there with a separate source. Second, you want to test it right outside the controller. Put power there, get it back there, make sure that's working. So if that's working, and then the controller is getting power, most likely the controller could be bad. So that's what we're testing there, as long as we know we're getting power to the controller. So, all right, a few other things I want to talk about. Under our website, buyersproducts.com, under support, then if you go all the way down, it'll be under resources. And some of the resources we have is, of course, for the controller. there's a bunch of controller codes that it'll tell you, if there's a fuse, low voltage, stuff like that. That's on our website. Also, what will be on our website too, it'll be, again, under the resources, will be like a TGS type thing. And what's nice about this, I guess we say flyer, but it's online. It tells you the size, of the controller, the bumper extensions that you need on all the newer trucks. Has wear parts, so the simple stuff that wears, you want to have that part number accessible. It has a harness reference sheet too, so it tells you what part numbers are the harnesses, controllers, replacement ends. Tells you about the controller, and then again tells you about messages and just what everything means. Also, we do have repair ends for the back here. For the vibrator is part number 305-4942. Again, that's just a replacement end with like a little pigtail on it. And then also for the motor, we have part number 305-4945. So instead of replacing a whole harness, you just got to replace the ends. Saves you a bunch of money and time. So there you have it, troubleshooting our SaltDogg tailgate spreaders, which includes the TGS UV Pro A, the TGS 06, the TGS 02, 3, and 7. Again, what's nice about all these, they have the same controller, harness, and all the wiring, they're all the same, which is wonderful. Also, don't forget, smash that like button, subscribe, become part of that SaltDogg family. If you have any questions, give us a call. Check out our website, buyersproducts.com. Give us an email. We'll be glad to answer it. Now go buy a SaltDogg and go chase a storm.